So I did this brand new spangly dude. I really like him. Howdy folks, I'm Autumn Witch and welcome to Bleeding Tree Gaming. Previously I painted a Blood Angels Terminator captain and kinda caught the Blood Angels bug. And what better way to start than by grabbing one of the brand new characters. So yeah, I got the new Sanguinary Priest model. Let's build him. As I look over the sprue, there appears to be some nice variety in build options, which I always appreciate. There's 3 head options, 2 left arm options, 2 stowed weapon options, and alternative lights on his backpack. Certainly enough parts to kitbash a second priest using the old Primaris Apothecary kit as a base, which I may have to bear in mind for a future project. As he's a character that gets attached to a unit, I want him to stand a little taller than his comrades, so I tear up some cork tiling and build it up on his base. I'm going for a ruined city vibe when it comes to the basing mix for my Blood Angels, so I treat the cork as a broken concrete slab and I saturate it with super glue to set it solid. There's a lot of details on him, so I decided that I would do sub-assemblies. Basically, because he is wearing white armour, it's going to be difficult to paint all the cloth and smaller details without getting any of it on the white, and in an area that's difficult to get to once assembled can be a pain in all the holes. I use some old bases and a paperclip to mount the sub-assemblies so I can easily handle them without having to touch the parts themselves. I choose to drill the parts, but just using some super glue or blue tack works just as well. You'll just have more to tidy up before it comes to assembly. Obviously, the points of attachment are best kept to the parts that won't be visible on the final model, such as in the joints. I start with a base prime of white. I will save base coating the actual white panels to last when I'm less likely to get other colours on it and spend ages cleaning up after myself. I grabbed Vallejo Black Red to do the undersides of the cloth, along with the leather of his pistol pouch. The outer layers of the cloth got 2 thin coats of corn red, as did his left shoulder pad with the Blood Angels icon. I hit the areas I want to be black with Basilicanum Grey. For the lights on the backpack, I went over the spotlight with Imperial Fist and used Tesseract Glow on the scanner and other bits that are meant to be lit up, and the metal parts with polished silver speed paint from the Army Painter. I need to try some more of these metallic speed paints because this one is pretty decent. I went over the gold areas with the Army Painter's Greedy Gold. There are 1 or 2 details left, namely the tubes on his instruments and around his neck. I paint the ones around his neck half full with Mephiston Red, making sure that the liquid level line is consistent with the orientation of the model as opposed to the tubes. And for the console on his waist, I used Talisar Blue. The remaining leather got a coat of snakebite leather. I mixed 1 part Nuln Oil to 4 parts Contrast Medium and went over the whole model. This got nicely into all the recesses while subtly shading the base colours. Having painted 4,000 points of white scars this year, I wanted to try a cleaner look to white armour than the grungy version I did for my Zoomy boys. Once that is dry, I finally grabbed Corax White, thinned it about 50-50 with water, and went over all the white panels, being careful not to go into any of the recesses. Now for highlights. I built up thin layers of Mephiston Red on the raised cloak details, with each subsequent layer smaller than the last, before doing a final highlight of Wazdaka Red. I also glazed Mephiston Red over the upper part of the shoulder pad and the red on the backpack. I hit the raised white areas with Vallejo Dead White. As usual, I used the airbrush variant for this, as the paint is already thinned but still rich with pigment. I'm not really one to go for super crisp edge highlighting. I prefer a more subtle gradient that you get with dry brushing and or glazing. I then took some Blue Horror and heavily thinned it with contrast medium, which I glazed over the tubes to simulate the fogging effect of glass, but I wiped it off the face of them where the liquid is, just to make it appear stronger. Now I wanted to focus on the head separately because of its importance. The first thing I did was hit the visible parts of the undersuit with Basilicanum Grey and the metal parts around his jawline with polished silver speed paint. The hair gets a coat of Seraphim Sepia to emphasize the blonde barnet that is seemingly compulsory for Blood Angels. The face gets some thinned Guilliman flesh, and they get left to dry. I was happy with the hair as it was, but I came in with pallid witch flesh and a very small brush to hit the highlights such as the nose, cheekbones, brow, chin and top lip. And for the eyes I went super tiny with the brush, adding a fine line of dead white in the sockets and then a line of black under the brows to give them depth, a final dot of black finishing the eyes. I went around all the lenses, lights and screens with contrast paint and a dab of white to give a glow or reflective effect. And I went around the gold parts with Auric Armor Gold on the highlights. I did my usual tidying up the paint, but thankfully there wasn't as much as usual due to the sub-assemblies. All that is left for me to do is the final basing, which I do by dipping the miniature in basing mix, arranging the mix with my brush, and then dripping super glue carefully over the top to seal it all down. Whilst I do this, and before I show you some fancy shots of the finished piece, can I be a bore and ask you to like, share and subscribe if you are feeling it. Also, we have a Ko-fi account if you want to donate to keep the channel in hobby supplies, along with an Element Games affiliate link if you are in the UK. Anything you order from there will get their usual fantastic discount, but they'll bung a few pennies our way too. Oh, we also have a Discord if you want to come join us and check out our little community. All relevant links are in the description below. Thank you for watching. I'm Autumn Witch, and I'll catch you next time on Bleeding Tree Gaming. Now, here's the good stuff.